A very good evening and welcome to Radio Masti 24/7. जी हाँ, ये हमारा live cast show होता है every Tuesday. It is a very special show and it's a very special cast, as you and I both know. And hi Padma, welcome to Radio Masti 24/7. And this is Corner Office. जी हाँ, Corner Office where the bosses talk to the bosses. ऐसा कहा जाता है हमारे रेडियो मस्ती के स्टूडियोज में, क्योंकि यहाँ पर उन्हें लगता है कि बॉसेस के साथ बात कर रहे हैं. That is the reason it's called Corner Office. Well, I must say there are several important decisions that are taken in the Corner Office. Last week, episode 1 में, we were talking to Mr. Javed Ashraf, the High Commissioner of India to Singapore. And yes, what he said was, कॉर्नर ऑफिस में तो काम ही नहीं होता. Well, I wouldn't quite believe that because definitely कॉर्नर ऑफिस में ऐसे काम होते हैं जो कि डेलीगेट किए जाते हैं, लेकिन होते तो वहीं पर हैं, निकलते तो वहीं पर हैं. बिजनेस का डायरेक्शन क्या है, स्ट्रेटजी क्या है, क्या होने वाला है, व्हाट इज द इकोनॉमिक एंड द अदर इन्फ्लुएंसेस व्हिच आर एक्चुअली इम्पैक्टिंग योर बिजनेस और द सेक्टर यू आर इन. ये सारी की सारी डिस्कशंस तो इसी कॉर्नर ऑफिस में होती हैं एंड डेफिनेटली वहां से बढ़ती हैं आगे और निकल जाती हैं टू बिकम, well, maybe the activities of the future, definitely for the industry that we are in. Hi Pravesh, welcome to Radio Masti. Hi Rupama and hi Manoj, welcome. तो यहाँ पर आज हमारे साथ कौन जुड़ने वाला है? Well, I'm sure you guys have been already eyeing our post and have already seen on the poster who we are going to be having today. Well, there's somebody very special. I have to admit, पहली बार रेडियो मस्ती 24/7 पर आ रहे हैं, ये एक अलग कहानी है, लेकिन डेफिनेटली जानते हैं सभी लोग उनको, सिर्फ मेरी बात नहीं है. Of course, I've known him for a long time now. Everybody has known him for a long time. He's a name that he is, I wouldn't be able to tell you whether it's his name or it's the brand that he has created, which is better known amongst the community. Well, of course, there's a lot of hard work, I have to admit. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got somebody, and this person is someone who has made it to the helm of affairs, starting from a very different direction that he took earlier in life. Yes, it's a very inspiring story, I have to tell you, because all of us look for inspiration in our daily lives, right? लेकिन बहुत ही कम ऐसे लोग होते हैं जो हमको वाकई इंस्पायर कर जाते हैं. कैसे? Well, because they think ahead, they have vision, they do have a direction, and at the same time they do take action, and that too at the right time. Because सिर्फ सोचने से कुछ नहीं होता, करना होता है, और वो करने के लिए हमें कोई और नहीं, हमें खुद का, अपने आप का सहारा लेना पड़ता है. क्योंकि अगर हम लीड करेंगे, that defines that we are the leaders. उसके बाद हमें followers धीरे धीरे मिलेंगे, people who believe in us. But the first step is something that defines the future. And that, ladies and gentlemen, makes a very big difference indeed. So on that note, अब क्योंकि मैंने इतनी excitement यहाँ पर create करी है, let me tell you that I am going to be bringing right here on the screen with you and me is Mr. Atul Temurnikar. जी हाँ, Atul is someone who is a very familiar name in Singapore, definitely. And then you will be surprised when I tell you more about his achievements and all that he's done in the past many years. कि भाई सिर्फ सिंगापुर नहीं, साउथ ईस्ट एशिया का बात कीजिए, या आसियान की बात कीजिए, या इंडिया की बात कीजिए, या मिडिल ईस्ट की बात कीजिए, everywhere definitely he has established and he has gone way ahead and taken Singapore way ahead with him. कैसे? Well, I know, I have read, I have talked to him, but I'm not going to tell you. We're going to ask him. That is the right way to do that, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, do welcome Mr. Atul Temurnikar, co-founder and chairman, Global Schools Foundation, Singapore, and Global Indian Foundation, Singapore. Atul,
Hi,
welcome to Radio Masti. How are you?
Hi, welcome. I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Fantastic. It's lovely to have you here with us, Atul. This is the first time. Radio Masti has been established for about a decade now. लेकिन आपको हम पकड़ के यहाँ तक नहीं ला पाए. How does it feel?
Yeah, thank you for that very generous compliment. I don't know how to react to that. Probably I've never heard so many compliments in a span of 120 seconds. But thank you, Renuka. It's always pleasure to be with you and pleasure to be talking to you. Yes, it's my first opportunity that I've got to come to your radio. Yeah, it's exciting, and it's doubly exciting for a lot of reasons that we are talking to you today. So it's going to be great fun, and we will be having a great conversation here.
Absolutely. I have no doubts about that. So, Atul, I wanted to ask you something. I've been reading, and obviously, a lot of people do know you, and we have spoken at several occasions as well. So, we all know that you moved to Singapore with a multinational, and you were the country head of this organization, right? So, it was totally a corporate career throughout. Of course, you're an engineer at that time, and now you are an educationist. So, ये सक्सेसफुल कॉर्पोरेट लाइफ से सडनली एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप का एक कीड़ा होता है ना, वो कैसे आ गया?
I think Kida is the right word, and more than Kida is probably a very powerful word, because Kida means you have a determination and you want to do something.
Yes.
I would say for me it was more of a combination of Kida and accident.
Uh-huh.
The reason it was accident because I was pretty much loving my job, MNC, going around,
Yeah.
having Mondays to Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The problem was we didn't know what to do,
Right.
because you can't really go to every shopping mall every weekend. So and you can't travel out so frequently as well, because you don't have the stack of cash to keep flying around the weekends.
True.
So basically, it was for me a very cushy life. A lot of interesting things were happening. A lot of things were happening in the US, because everybody used to calling me from there and saying, "Atul, yaar, idhar aaja. Idhar to बहुत set life है. ऐसा है, वैसा है." So I mean, that was a time which was just about the e-business and the dot-com boom was taking place, and it was presented. At least everybody was talking in a way that Silicon Valley is going to be the place where you will fly your kites. But to me, something that said,
Mhm.
to some extent, it was my inner voice that actually told me that यार वहाँ जाके क्या करेंगे, ये सही जगह है, यहीं रहते हैं, यहाँ पे बहुत कुछ कर सकते हैं. और so I resisted the temptation. Uh, I did my best to continue here. And while I was at IBM, this idea of a school, particularly where Indian nationals can go to, was something that was a mystery. It was mystery for a couple of reasons, because in the late 90s, there was only one big school which was running the Hindi school language classes on Sunday.
Right.
And I saw the way people were, going to that school, and
Mhm.
which somehow gave an impression that, look, that there must be a lot of parents here who want to study in Indian curriculum. And that was a trigger. That was my observation. I used to go and drop my son there on Sundays. And there's a very interesting thing, which perhaps you are the only one who will pioneer the or the breaking news aspect of it. So my job in those days was to operate a school bus on behalf of 40 parents. What I
Oh.
used to do was I used to actually get together all the parents together, and they said, "यार यहाँ से इतने सारी गाड़ियाँ कैसे जाएंगी? एक school bus करते हैं." So
हाँ.
I called a small unknown company called Tongta Transport. And Tongta Transport used to be in Jurong. And I said, "Hey guys, we're all working. We
हाँ.
have this problem. Can you guys help us with a bus?" And he said, "Yeah, we can do that." And somehow then we started a bus, and then parents said, "यार इसको payment कैसे करेंगे?" So I said, "Okay, no problem. I can collect effort on everybody's behalf, and I can do that." So that's how that was my real first journey into the space of education. Of course, my role was limited to being collect the fees from all the students and really
Right.
take it to them, and then pay the contractor on time. But having done that, then I realized that there could be a possibility where we could it was just a space that I was exploring.
Right.
And then one fine day, one of my college friends who had become a minister, cabinet minister in Maharashtra, he gave me a call from KL, and he said, "Hey, Atul bhai, he's in Nagpur, generally the language is very
Yes.
very unique, and it's Atul bhai, मैं आ रहा हूँ. So can we meet up? And I want to meet a minister." So I said, "Boss, minister तो मुझे अता पता नहीं मालूम कैसे करना है." So I kind of sent an email to the education minister, and I said, "This
Yeah.
minister wants to come and meet you." And they said, "Okay." It was like Thursday night, I sent, and he was coming on Saturday morning. So he said, "Okay, I'm coming." And they were fortunate. It was Dr. Ang Hen. He was the MOS for education that time, and he said, "Okay, I'll be happy to see the minister." And he met the minister, and he said, "कि कोई काम है क्या आपका?" He said,
हाँ.
"नहीं, यहाँ पे ना Indian school नहीं है." So I had briefed him. I said, "Just ask him whether they are keen to have a school for Indian curriculum."
Right.
And so my friend asked him, and he said, "Yeah, why not? There is Australians have their school, Americans have their school, the British have their school. So we'll be very happy to have an Indian school here. And that's how the first journey started. And he came back and he said, Atul bhai, तुम्हारा काम हो गया. मैंने कहा क्या हुआ? बोले उन्होंने हाँ कर दिया. मैंने कहा उनके हाँ करने से नहीं होता है, वो पूरा पेपर वर्क करना पड़ता है. And I was in the process of doing the paperwork, and of course I did paperwork, and within a matter of I think 6 to 8 weeks, they came back and said, "We're happy to allow you to do this, but where's your place?"
हाँ.
So that's how then I spoke to some people. I put some ads in the newspaper, and there was some response, and that's how I got to start the school in the Mount Sophia campus.
Wow.
And
तो एक
yeah,
मिनट
so basically,
आपके लिए तालियां तो बजा दें इस बात पे. बीच बीच में थोड़ा सा स्टूडियो स्टेडियम इफेक्ट आना चाहिए. आपको भी लगना चाहिए that you are talking about a journey which I'm sure while you are talking you're getting flashbacks as well कि किस तरह से वो पूरी conversation हुई थी and where it all started, and there must be so many questions in your mind at that time ना कि चलो हो गया तो हो गया, नहीं हुआ तो of course I continue on my very cushy and the corporate job, and definitely a career and a path was already there, right? So हाथ पैर मार रहे थे, लेकिन साथ साथ में ये भी पता था कि हो गया तो life is going to take a very different turn, right? So that's how.
absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me, apart from, of course, go on with the story and do pick up beach mein challenges kaun se aaye, because we would love to know what were the main challenges and how did you really overcome them. We learned so much from that.
So I think like in any startup, there are
Right.
challenges. You don't have a credibility, so everybody looks at you with a piece of suspicion, saying that I don't know who you are. And I even got some stares from the embassy that time, and some people called me and said, "भाई आप कौन है? आप क्या करना चाह रहे हैं यहाँ पे?" मैंने कहा सर मैं स्कूल खोलना चाह रहा हूँ. And I remember the official calling me and saying, "But आपका तो कोई एक्सपीरियंस नहीं है." मैंने कहा उसमें क्या लगता है सर, हम स्कूल खोल देंगे और हम एक्सपर्ट्स को लेके आ जाएंगे और वैसे हम कर लेंगे, इसको चालू कर लेंगे. तो of course he was very cooperative, and then basically, so I don't think there are any different challenges than a startup. And when you're looking at a business startup versus a social enterprise startup that I was looking at, it is exactly the same. Your credibility, capital, and your courage to really take it up. The 3 C's, that is always is an issue with any startup. And the same thing happened, in terms of there were questions, but I think one good thing is that my being from IBM really helped, because when I went up to the stage and I spoke to those parents and prospects, the very first open house we had it in Mount Sophia on a Sunday or a Saturday. And I still do meet many parents who sometimes I bump into. Now all the airports I meet a lot of people who are have some connection with GIS. And this one guy came and said, "Hey, do you remember me? I was in the first campus, and I was one of the part of the first 50 students, and my kids are now here and in the US and in different places." So basically, it's very proud feeling that we come to know about them. But that was there was a time that I had to establish my credentials. So there were a lot of talks, and they said, "हाँ ठीक है यार, corporate का बंदा है, चला लेगा, ठीक चला लेगा." So I've heard those comments, and I recently bumped into one of the ladies' husbands, and on WhatsApp he sent me a note saying, "यार याद है कि नहीं, हमने ये खोला था उस समय हम आए थे, तो हमको भूल गए क्या?" मैंने कहा नहीं, हम किसी को नहीं भूलते हैं. हमारी फोटोग्राफिक मेमोरी है उतनी फोटोग्राफिक है जितनी मोदी जी की है, और हम कभी नहीं भूलते किसी को. So I said, well, thank you so much for your support. Yeah.
One of our audience, Mugdha, is saying that I cherish my practice sessions in GIS for MMS music concerts. So definitely you are right when you say that everybody in Singapore, I would say, the majority of people have a connect with GIS in one way or the other. But Atul, I stopped you when you were telling me about the story, wo jagah kaise mili and how it all went about, right? So I do want to share a bit with them.
So I shared that story with Ravi Velu recently, and he was like, "What, did you do that?" So it's a very uncommon thing when you are, at least in today's times, if you want to do a school, the first thing you need to do is go and get a land, and the land will cost you in millions of dollars. Then you have to go and set up a school that will cost you in millions of dollars. So I said, look, there must be a way to do this, and we are used to this concept of कि झाड़ के नीचे भी स्कूल चलते हैं. So I said, let me do this, and I put up a $16 ad in the State Times classified. And the ad said, and I still have the ad said, wanted a school building for international school.
Okay.
And I had no idea what will be the response. And मैंने जाके वो पोस्ट ऑफिस में पे करना पड़ता था, तो मैंने
Huh.
जाके वहाँ पे किया, ad के लिए पैसे दिए, वो ad आई, and then there was a lady, suddenly she called up and she said, oh, you're looking for a school building? I said, yes. She said, oh, I may just have something for you. Can you come and meet me at this coffee shop? So we went there, and then over to, and then she said, okay, come and I'll show you the school. And she said, this belongs to the church, and the church is happy to do something for you because the church is in a school building where the church only operates on weekends. But do you need the school on weekends? I said, no, I don't need. Then she said, okay, good. Then you can use it Monday to Friday, and Saturday, Sunday they will use.
Huh.
I said, perfect. So she showed me the building. It was a beautiful place, just at the back lawns of the Istana. There's a place called Mount Sophia, which is, if you know the Plaza Singapore location, it's like 50 meters behind Plaza Singapura.
Yes.
And that was a lovely location, A, because it was a historic in nature, and B, it was very centrally located, very close to Orchard Road. So, like, again, startup problems. School kahan pe hai? Sir, hamara school Orchard Road mein hai. मैंने कहा अच्छा. So, people used to be, चलो Orchard Road में मतलब पास में ही है ना. We didn't know how to explain, because those days these maps were not so common. Google Maps didn't exist that way. People knew Plaza Singapura, and so I think the best landmarks we used to describe by, in a very, very serious way, is, is next to Istana. And they used to be like, अच्छा वहाँ पे है, कहाँ पे है, वो गेट कहाँ पे है? तो हमने कहा भाई वहाँ से आई है, पीस सेंटर से आई है. So it was interesting. But I think the good thing about all these initial days were, I think, the love and support that the parents gave. Because I still do remember there was a very senior executive from UBS, sorry, Credit Suisse. And he came, and he was, I think, a MD here. And he came and talked to me, and he said, I'm going to put my kids in your school. And I said, well, आप देख लीजिए whatever is there, because it was a very old building, has been there for 30 years, 40 years. And people were kind of, used to the international schools here. I think the challenge of how an international school can survive, how an international school can operate at that particular fee, and how do you really, try and basically make people convinced that the quality of education is going to be here. So, we were very clear about one thing, that our team that was set up initially, we said, we want to be the best educators here in this industry. We don't want to be measured on infrastructure or the quality of tiles or quality of, the cars that you drive in. We want to make it very plain and simple. You will get the best education here. And that is how we began the journey. That is how we debriefed our people, our team members. There were 12 team members. Three of them still continue to be working with us. And then they have had the journey. I mean, they have seen from something to nothing, nothing to something. And essentially, it gives a lot of pleasure to everyone, particularly it's the pleasure that children have. And I do remember recently when we opened the Smart Campus in Pungal, we had lots of students who actually wrote to us and saying they want to visit the new campus because they've only seen in pictures and they want to see how it feels like. So that's how then we hosted them, and they were like, oh my God, we loved that campus. We were in Balestier, or we loved the campus where we were in Queenstown. And there are walls that have been the background and the background image for all the kids' graduating photographs, which was a very simple brick wall. And it just happened that it turned out to be the most popular wall for all.
You never know what every generation comes up with, But just to summarize, Atul, that's an inspiring journey. That totally is an inspiring journey. I mean, when you look back, I'm sure you think वो कहाँ से शुरू किया था, वो बस के लिए पैसे लेने शुरू किए थे to sort of take it up and manage with all the parents. And it all started with obviously your own son going to the Hindi school on Sundays, I guess. And वहाँ से लेकर आज to have 7 countries, please correct me if I'm wrong, 21 campuses, Singapore, Malaysia, India, UAE, Thailand, Vietnam, Japan, students with more than 50 nationalities. And of course, there's more. So there's you are the co-founder and trustee of the Global Indian Foundation, which is the cultural and sports education, right, for young citizens. Sathi Saath mein, of course, you're a prominent member of the education industry in ASEAN, Southeast Asia, and Middle East and India, as I mentioned earlier. There's high quality and cost effective education that you always talk about, right? And that is how the whole culture of the Global Indian Foundation, I understand, and the schools is sort of building and continues to build, because that's a continuous process, right? So when now we go back to the times that COVID has brought us, right? So suddenly it's not just the industry that you belong to, but every industry that is now in a way forced to get out of their comfort zones, if there was anything like that, and replan and re-prepare, because we're talking a generation Z, we are talking alpha, we are talking beyond, right? And when I say this, I'm actually also referring to some amazing research done by Dr. Purnima Luthra, who's watching us right now, and she's a founder and chief consultant, and she's not in Singapore, and she's watching us from Copenhagen, I think, and along with Mr. Sandy McKinsey, who's the director of Copenhagen International School. So they're all watching us right now, and that's why this is not just a Singapore problem. This is a challenge for the education industry from across the globe right now. So how would you define the challenge personally at your level? And then, of course, do highlight what is your understanding of how the education industry is going to be changing from here on.
So, if you look at the current situation, I think we don't have to speak much, because I think it's let threadbare in terms of what comes in the newspapers, in the media, and the mainstream has been highlighting. This is one of the, I would say, one of the most bizarre times that the current alpha generation has to go through.
Right.
And the reason I'm saying bizarre is because, not from a negative perspective, it's bizarre because nobody has an idea. I was chairing a panel yesterday, and there were a lot of panel speakers from Switzerland and India, and this was all the CEOs and the big guns of the various industries. And frankly, nobody had a clue how this is going to be resolved. So the uncertainty is so certain that everybody knows this is uncertain. At least that is one thing established. There is no difference of opinion कि ये uncertain है, कब खत्म होगा. Absolutely nobody has a clue about the timing of this closure. Second thing, what scares everyone in terms of, and not just Singapore, but it scares everyone, is if the big trees are going to fall, and I'm talking about big trees as in big corporations, big airlines, big companies, IT companies, pharma, there are going to be massive names dropping off the radar for sure.
Yeah.
He's already beginning to see this with airlines. Virgin has already, started doing bankruptcy proceedings. Every day you just look at the Forbes and the Bloomberg, you will see how many people are very, very well-known names are going down. The reason they're going down is because of liquidity. See, these are companies where they have either borrowed extremely high. They were like neck to neck in terms of borrowings. And then this happens. So what your banks are going to do? Banks are going to say, hey guys, I'm going to call off your loans. And that's where the whole liquidity crunch happens. So I'm not an economist, I'm not a finance professional, but I can basically see that if you run out of your money, you are going to be in total soup. And believe me, no matter what programs any government has to put up, these are not going to be situations that anybody is going to take you out of. The only way to do is to then go for bankruptcy proceedings, take protections under court. You have a pre-COVID situation of high flux going on here, and many countries have similar situations. So we are basically going to look at the possibility of big names going down. Now, as a result of that, you're going to have a ripple effect coming down on the SMEs. The SME sector is going to be deeply, deeply affected. I'm on WhatsApp chat with a group of 40 CEOs in Singapore, and I can see how they are fuming. They're fuming. For example, there's a real jewelry retail house, massive. They're like the number one, number two in Singapore. They are saying, where do we pay the rent? Where do we pay the salaries? There is nobody walking in. So lockdown was very exceptional for them. And then even if the lockdown has been eased and we are in phase 2, they are saying, where are the customers? And their employees are saying, boss, today there was a rain, massive rain, so nobody came. oh, boss, tomorrow the MRT is jammed, so nobody's coming. So,
Yes.
it's a real challenge for even getting the revenues back into the mainstream, where
Hmm.
you get to a 50% stage. So I think every sector, and education is no exception. I can tell you the universities here are absolutely going for deep cuts.
Yes.
Uh, this is at least my understanding, that this is going to be, for example, a EMBA course run by one of the most prestigious universities here may just be shut down. They will
Hmm.
just do a virtual e-learning EMBA course. Similarly, there could be a possibility that there could be, courses which are run in a blended way.
Hmm.
So education is no exception.
Hmm.
We are no exception. If the COVID, and I think the best thing to do under such situations, which are where you don't know the certainty of when this is going to be resolved, is to actually take a long-term view. So
Yes.
we've taken a view that this is going to be there for next 2 years.
Totally.
अब आपको जो करना है कर लो. This
Hmm.
is not going to be, let's not get fascinated by one statement coming out of one leader here and there. And
Hmm.
I think Singapore has been extremely honest about getting the words out to say that, look, this is a long-term thing, guys, you've got to live with it. And
Right.
as a result of that, we have taken a view that this is going for 2 years, and we have to plan everything according to that. So
Hmm.
whatever the leadership has to do in terms of running an organization, you have to start putting in all those shock absorbers, and you need to be extremely vigilant in order to be able to correct the situation, because
Hmm.
today what the situation is, next week it will be totally different. So we have to be on our toes. We have to make sure that our financial systems are prudent, and they are, well oiled and well engined,
Hmm.
and they're able to absorb the shocks. There have been some great relief coming in from the Singapore governments,
Hmm.
and that is for everybody to see. The Trade Ministry has been announcing all those. So they are trying their best to help companies with their liquidity. They're trying to help the companies and organizations
Hmm.
to pay off a percentage of the salaries of the Singaporeans and PR. So that's
Yeah.
very big help, and I think that is coming in. It's like coming in like a like a flashcard. Immediately it comes in, gets announced, and gets. So I have really great fascination for the efficiency of the Singapore government
Hmm.
and the way they have been taking care of the current situation. I
Hmm.
mean, you don't have three budgets. To do one budget, it takes 6 months to prepare. They
True.
have done three budgets within a span of 90 days. It's absolutely amazing.
I
And not
suspect.
only that, I think there's been great transparency.
Hmm.
It's about getting the messaging right. Sometimes it's so easy for us now that the schools have already started. One of our schools has already started in the month of June, and we have the
Hmm.
GIs also starting next month. It's so easy because everybody is well informed. All we have to do is make sure everybody is kicked in. The rules and regulations are very clearly defined, so
Hmm.
students can come back with a confidence that they are going
Hmm.
to be in a good place, and a safe place.
Yeah, and I think that that's an amazing satisfaction, because we know, as you rightly mentioned, whether every country, every business, the largest organizations to the smallest, newest startups, everybody has a question in front of them. But then, if it is of any satisfaction, well, education is something which definitely is one of those sectors which are in a little bit of comfort zone. Why I say this is because definitely children will continue to go back to school. I mean, parents are not going to say we can cut down on restaurants, travels, and a lot more. But when it comes to education and healthcare, for example, these are the two areas which definitely, these are necessities, in more ways than one. So we've seen that apart from the last, when so many schools and everything got into lockdown at the same time, was probably World War II, right? That so many countries were involved. And after that is this pandemic that people are seeing. So, and during this pandemic, yes, there was a lot of online learning, and schools continued, and parents continued to contribute to the development of their children, right? So, what is the new new for education? Is it customized blended learning? Is it something that you are looking at having on a regular basis, so that students get used to it? Because this generation and technology go hand in hand. They think technology. So how
Yes.
do you think it's going to shape?
So you're right. So there is a little bit of relief in the field of education, but that is only limited to the early years of education, and I would say, of course, up to grade 12.
Hmm.
The same thing does not apply for a higher education. I was talking to a director of admissions of one of the universities here, and she said, you know, we are very worried that even students who have signed up for courses from August may
Mm-hmm.
not actually come back to Singapore.
Mm.
And they were even struggling to get answers from the immigration as to when
Yes.
are you going to open up the borders. So the higher education is certainly affected. There is a little bit of cushion, I could say, but the cushion is hardly limited to 3 or 4 months. Because
Mm.
generally, when you have a child in a school, and given that we mostly educate the expat students here,
Mm-hmm.
and our parents come from very ordinary backgrounds. I mean, some of them even struggle to pay the fees, but we have therefore made sure that our school fees is going to be extremely affordable. And I can very happily say that compared to many other international schools here, we are giving much better facilities, but our fees could be, lower than even by 50%. So,
Mm.
well, I will not go into the discussion about fees
Yeah.
or whether it's very affordable or not. But I
Right.
can say one thing with very big confidence that look, there are going to be job cuts. The job cuts will the first segment of the population who will be affected by that will be the expatriates. And we only educate the expatriates. Unlike kindergartens, where there are a lot of local populations in the kindergartens, so there is a tendency that they may not be affected. So,
Mm.
firstly and foremost, we cannot live in a glass house to say that there's no effect going to be for us. Yes, right now I can see that parents are, the people who are affected still continue to be here because the immigration is closed right now. The
Mm.
airports are closed, the airlines are closed. But
Yes.
the moment this is opened up, and we expect this to open up towards end of July, early August,
Mm.
then you will see a barrage of exits happening in Singapore. I was
True.
privy to the exits during the GFC crisis in 2008. I was in Dubai and late 2008, early 2009, and we
Mm.
were trying to go there to set up a school. And I drove and I saw buildings and buildings all left like deserts.
Mm.
And I asked somebody, I said, this was on the Sheikh Zayed Road when you drive on from Dubai to Abu Dhabi.
Yes.
And they were looking like, and I've seen a similar scene in 2004 in Suzhou, because one of my friends was the vice chairman of the Suzhou Industrial Corporation, and he was
Mm-hmm.
also ex-IBM. And he said, "Come over, I'll show you something." And I went there, and he said, "Can you start a school in Suzhou because we need an international school here?"
Mm.
And that was the time I saw empty buildings all done up, not a single resident. Same situation I saw, but it was worse off during the GFC crisis because buildings were there, half
Mm.
complete, structures left like that, nothing. But I don't think we have a situation like that in Singapore. But here, the impact is going to be felt greatly during the last
Mm.
quarter. And that's when we are going to see a lot of expatriates really get affected. And the only choice they will have is to go back to their home countries.
Mm.
So it's not a very permanently foolproof scenario. See,
Right.
even the income tax collections for any country which is considered to be foolproof in these times is not foolproof. So who are we?
Mhm.
There's no way even the tax department will be able to tell you how much tax they'll collect for this year. And all budgets run on tax collection. So
You're right.
I
You're
think
right.
it's
Mhm.
challenging. I would say the only comfort we are able to give to parents here is that, hey guys, at least affordability point of view, you can afford the fees, and you're not going to be strained out, paying 40,000 fees and 35,000
Mhm.
fees per child. The second is that we have actually pre-COVID, moment of COVID happened, and I saw a pattern of what is going to come in because we were in Bali
Mm.
of January, about Jan 30th, Jan 27th, we went to Bali for 5 days. And we
Mm.
had our entire executive teams come from all over the locations, from all
Yes.
the countries, and we were there. And these people went to Kuta just for a
Mm.
evening and have a kind of just spend some time shopping. And they came back. I didn't go, but they said, "Sir, पूरा market खाली है." मैंने कहा क्या?
Mm.
बोले
Mm.
यहाँ पूरा खाली है, वो कुछ चाइना में चल रहा है, उसकी वजह से यहाँ पूरा खाली चल रहा है. So, and we were like sitting in the Marriott hotel, and we said, okay, maybe this is big. So we told our team members, we said, look, something big is happening, prepare for it.
Mm.
So we immediately started, helping out, and I'm glad to share that we've given scholarships worth $2 million since the time end of January till
Mm.
now. $2 million of scholarships have been given to parents who are in our schools, whose
Mm.
children are studying in our schools, and they've asked for relief, and they've demonstrated that we need help because this is not something which is extraordinary. So we created a package. We created a COVID relief, and we went out to all the parents and said, look, whoever is either affected by a job loss
Hmm.
or has an income cut of the family household income, cut by up to 25%,
Hmm.
or you can demonstrate to us that you are in the process of disengaging from the company. And so
Hmm.
there is very clear criteria given, and we said come back
Hmm.
to us, we will see what we can do. So we have given out $2 billion. It's a lot of money to give in times
It
of
is
COVID. and
for
and
sure.
I think that's something that is giving a lot of comfort to the parents, what we hear from them, and how they are reacting to it. So it's nothing, no solution is complete in a way, but I think
Hmm.
we wish that whatever we can do, and we'll continue to do for parents. And even now as we speak, and your audience is going to be listening to this, I would say if you have a problem, come to us, write to us at admissions.sg at globalnetschool.org. Our website is there. We have
Hmm.
defined what the resilience scholarships are,
Right.
and sure we'll be able to help you out. And there are many students from other schools have actually started shifting because they can't afford the fees. They say, look,
Yeah.
it's okay, but now we would like to, and they're pretty happy because they're saying that, look, not only we get a fantastic facility, but at the same time, something is better than
Hmm.
what we have. So I think that's
Yeah.
good. And we're also on the lookout for community, a lot of community initiatives that we have done during these times.
Hmm.
First thing we did is we went back to the CCs and we said, these poor people who are basically contract workers and people who
Hmm.
work in the construction sector, and they're there from many Southeast Asian countries, not just from India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh,
Yes.
Pakistan, and many of the Myanmar, Cambodia countries.
Yes.
So we said we'd like to help you out, and so I
Hmm.
reached out to all the community centers, and so everybody was very eager. DPM Executive,
Hmm.
Radi Raja, Senior Minister Tharman, um, Minister Chanchun Singh, and everybody we went to, they said, this is great. You guys are doing the right thing. We said, look,
Hmm.
we don't know what to do and where to go, but you have the entire People's Association mechanism to
Yeah.
determine who is worthy of getting a benefit. So we
Yes.
said, why don't we give you the funds? So each CC, we gave them about $50,000 each.
Hmm.
Gave it to six CCs
Hmm.
from Tampines to Jurong to Ayaraja
Hmm.
to all these six constituencies, and including Pongal,
Hmm.
and said use this fund. So and I'm glad to say that some of them even came back to us and said, Indrani Raja, for example, mentioned that
Hmm.
a lot of demand for food, and we are planning to give NTUC vouchers. So, can we use your funds for the NTUC vouchers? So, we said, look, absolutely, this is your discretion. You do what you would like to do.
Hmm.
And so, for example, in Minister Thurman's constituency, they use the funds to actually give food packets to
Hmm.
all the workers during the Ramzan. They also gave clothing, including upper and lungis and all those things to all the workers. So it's very fulfilling and gratifying to see the funds being used in a very good
For
way.
sure.
And we do
Yeah.
work a lot of work with the People's Association and their grassroots people.
Hmm.
I can tell you they have some of the best guys working for community service. And so
I
we said
totally
we are very confident and we should be able to help you out. So that's what we did on the
certainly.
community side.
And I think these are the times when the corporate and the social responsibilities of organizations do come out, because this is the time that you can come out and help your community, not only your own community, but the country that has actually given you an opportunity to serve your community and otherwise. Because definitely the Indian education system, for example, is something which is not only appreciated by the Indians, but it is also appreciated by many other nationalities who want to be a part of that and want to figure out, how for example, I was reading one case where students in Japan wanted to sit with students from India. I understand, just because they wanted, a lot of cultural blending is there, and of course there's a lot of ways that students can teach each other without even words, for that matter. But I think you brought out a very, very amazing aspect of the contribution to society during these very tough times, for sure.
Yeah,
But
I must
mhm,
mention one thing. Sorry to interrupt you there.
sure.
So the funds that we gave were actually not just for expatriate workers.
Right.
This was for Singaporeans. So there was particularly in Pongal, for example,
Mm.
families which are poor or who have lost jobs. The same funds have been used to help them with food and ration and many other things. So it was done for the Singaporeans, and of course there were some expatriates in that, but it was primarily aimed to Singaporeans. And the feedback we're getting is that it was very timely. This was way back in early sometime mid-March to early April that we did this,
Hmm.
where the impact of this was not even felt because the
Hmm.
lockdown had not started that time.
Yes.
And so this was very timely. And by the time we were in mid-April and the lockdowns were
Hmm.
in force, we had already the funds were already used up, which means that the timing was very good. That's why
Definitely.
we were doing something.
Yes, for sure. And I think there's something, these are times that we can all look back. For example, on Radio Masti as well, we've started the Migrants channel. We've started 2 hours of Bangla programming, which is to educate, to entertain, and most importantly, to engage and keep the migrant workers positive during these times. Because you see, during lockdown, and they have nobody practically. This is all by themselves, and life can be very, very depressing, especially when you're tested positive, and you've been asked to stay away, or your friends have tested positive. So a lot of them have come out with their talent, and yeah, that's our way to give back as well. But I think that goes as the good times, the community is with us. The tough times, it is our responsibility to make sure that we build it positively. But on the same note, I'm going to make you smile a little bit, Atul. This is getting too intense. So I wanted to ask, corporate and of course entrepreneurship, right? So what does an educationist tell his children? क्या बोलते हो आप बेटा, जॉब करो या फिर एंटरप्रेन्योर की तरह 40 आवर्स को तुम दे दो और 80 आवर्स काम करो और रिस्क ले लो? What do you say?
Well, like in every family, your children never listen to you. They will have their own ideas. You can ask that to anybody, they will say, we have different ideas.
हाँ.
You can keep doing what it is. But I think my son has joined us. He's currently helping us with various aspects of technology. As you know, we are doing a lot of, state of the art uh, solutions that are going to be helping to us in COVID. I'll tell you a very interesting solution that we have done, which we have not spoken about in a very large way.
Hmm.
Singapore is going to introduce the tokens for COVID tracking.
Yes.
So when the first app came out, Trace Together,
Hmm.
I said this is great, but this is also great for countries like India. So
Hmm.
I told the site in India, PMO, and I told some of the colleagues over there, I said, can you just look at this? But the concept is good, and you can even use similar app. I'm glad to say that that was one of the first inspirations they took. They also looked at South Korea, and they actually came up with the Arogya Setu app based on similar lines.
Oh, wow.
So that was very interesting. This was we were talking to them in about late February, or mid-February to late February when the Trace Together app came in. And I think even High Commissioner Javed, he spoke to Minister Vivian, and Minister Vivian is the chief of Smart Nation Initiative. So he immediately announced that, yeah, we're happy to share with this. But the token thing that is coming, which people don't know yet. So that works that technology is already implemented in GIS. Now, how we did it? This is something called
This is the tracking one that you're talking about. The one that
yes.
a lot
Yes,
of
we
people
already
want to
have that.
be
It's just
involved
that
in.
we have not started using it.
Yes. Yes.
So we actually developed, as part of the Smart Campus, we put a technology called Find My Friend.
Hmm.
Now, Find My Friend is a very interesting thing because I was in Finland on a tour where I met somebody, and I said, I was watching the furniture shop, and I said, and I found something very interesting, which is basically that if you have the token with you, you can find a person anywhere in the office. And GPS doesn't work in the office.
Right.
So some of these location technologies, which are called, are not very heavily used in this part of the world. There is some, I'm told there are some malls which use that, but not really to a large extent. So we implemented the technology. We developed our own apps called Find My Friend. And those apps have been, we were, just before the COVID, we were actually doing live testing of that. Essentially, what we are going to do is we're going to give an ID card to every student, which is going to be slightly thicker than what they have right now.
Okay.
And when we use the ID card anywhere in the campus, we will get the exact statistics about how the students are moving around the campus. Not only the students can find their teachers where they are. Suppose I'm a small, let's say a grade 3 student, and I want to figure out where my teacher is. I'll go and talk to her. You can see on the mobile phone, he or she can see on the mobile phone, and that will tell you my teacher is on level 4, room number 3.
अरे अब तो बच्चे बंक भी नहीं कर सकते, आप ऐसे पता लगा लोगे हर चीज तो।
नहीं नहीं, बंक नहीं करेंगे तो वैसे ही उनका वहां पे अटेंडेंस नहीं लगेगा, वो तो सारा फेशियल रिकग्निशन पे है।
अब तो आप
तो
पकड़ लोगे
में
कहाँ
होता
बैठे,
था कि
दैट
मेरा
इज
आईडी
वेरी।
कार्ड लेके वहां पे छाप देना, अब वो भी नहीं कर सकते हैं। So of course, facial recognition is very foolproof, and we decided to go with that. And so this Find My Friend thing is something very unique. We are going to be, once the school starts, we're going to start looking into those ID cards and give it to them. But it's not really for tracing per se. It is to manage the facilities better. You get
Hmm.
statistics on is there a congregation, is there an overcrowding happening? We
Yes.
get heat maps. We get heat maps in terms of how people are going. We get because sometimes, especially in COVID times, this is going to be super exciting because
Yeah.
we will be able to see where crowding is happening. Of course,
Hmm.
we'll have to give the ID cards, and the moment we have done that, we'll be able to see that. So we feel that this is all these technologies, the impact of these, whether it is the Find My Friend tracing
Hmm.
technology, or the facial recognition, or the virtual classrooms, or the digital classrooms that everybody is using, is now just looks like it is boon in disguise that we implemented all these technologies.
Yeah, which is great. I think you've made extremely good use of the break, the summer break, and with technology specifically, because really, as we see, every country, especially the developed countries and countries like India and Singapore, for example, are really chasing the technology which will help them curb this pandemic. I mean, there is no way that economies can continue to stay closed. We have to move on, otherwise it's going to have much larger effects, right? Is how it is. So in Singapore, just coming back to that and coming back to the Global Schools Foundation, Atul, definitely there's a lot of movement when it comes to the expats, right? Because not only do people want to go back and be with their parents, for example, if we look at the ground level challenges, right? A lot of people want to go back, be with the elderly, want to take care of them, and at the same time the employment, which obviously every country is going to be considering their own citizens and prioritize them, and it goes for everyone, right? And along with that, we see an immediate impact, which is, as you rightly mentioned, students who have already paid or been a part of admissions starting this fall in the US, or the other or the schools anywhere, they may not even join. So what how do you see all this impacting? I mean, I know it's, again, I'm coming back to a question where your answer can be no one knows, but these are the immediate challenges. I mean, for August, for example, we don't know how students are going to go to the US. I'm sure you in GIS have a lot of students who have decided to go for higher studies to the United States. So how is all that being managed mentally, otherwise? How do you see the generation being impacted? Your mic is mute. Uh, yeah. मेरा म्यूट होना मंजूर है सबको, आपका नहीं. No, still mute. Yes, good now.
Good. Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So your question about universities. So parents are actually going to have a tough time in
Hmm.
order to decide whether this is going to be the best time to send for the universities. See, universities are enrolling, but many universities are also informing, some from the Europe, some from Australia. They're informing that we would like to do first semester in virtual.
Yes.
Or some are saying that if you're already in the US, we would like to do some blended learning as well. I think every university is taking a different approach. I am told by some UK leading universities are already going in for fully virtual. So the first half, universities are going to take a wait and watch our attitude. The parents will accordingly decide.
Hmm.
Most universities, I think, should be in a position to get virtual classes up and going because they had enough time to do it, and they were anyway conducting lessons. My own niece, who's currently stuck up in India and she's doing her
Hmm.
MBA in France, in Paris, we pulled her back and we said, look, you don't go there till the time situation is very clear. So We have a
True.
live example of our family siblings, trying to go there, and we're saying, because our difficulty is, we're saying, even if you go there, and let's say if you catch COVID and you need medical attention, this is something. Their own hospitals are flooded,
Hmm.
and there are no flights from here. We can't go there.
Hmm.
Nobody can respond to an emergency if somebody has to
True.
fly in and reach there in 10 hours. So this is really challenging because people don't have the confidence of
Hmm.
sending kids at this time. There'll be some parents who will be saying that, look, it's okay, you can go there and we'll see what
Hmm.
happens. So there will be some risk taking by people, but there'll be some people who will say, we want to wait and watch. Let's see what things happen around end
Hmm.
of July, because classes will normally begin around
Yeah.
mid-August. So
Yes.
once flights open up, then they will take a call. So it's going to be tough for all the parents of universities, and it's also tough for the universities because uh,
Hmm.
then the next question is, oh, you are virtual, then why are you charging this much? But you still need the faculty.
Absolutely.
You still need everybody to be, employed by the university, and you may save a little bit on the utility bill and the electricity bill, but in the sense you have to have majority of your workforce employed and
Yeah.
be able to conduct the classes.
Yeah, and I think that again, if you just to play the devil's advocate from the parents' perspective, obviously they are sending their kids to the US, to the UK, wherever, and then suddenly they see next day that their child is sitting for the first 3 months and sitting in the room and just looking at the computer. So people from the older traditional generation may not be able to understand that very easily. I mean, I'm not saying what's right or wrong. You are very much right in your own stand that obviously we have our costs and these are fixed and you can't let go of your teachers. You still need them. You may not have them in front of the students, but yeah, for sure. So that is, I think, a debate which we will still see, and we will still see the outcome of that in the next few months probably, because it's the first time that it's an unprecedented situation where kids graduation is happening virtual. We've seen that how.
Absolutely.
So we've never experienced this. तो आर्ग्यू करके स्टैंड तो तब ले सकते हैं जब हमें पता हो कि खुद सोल्यूशन क्या है, right? So just one more thing. Questions are coming in, but I'm not too sure, if this
Yeah, we
is
can
the.
take a few.
Yeah,
I
okay.
must tell
So,
you on that
yeah,
university thing. So there are, there is also. I mean, I've had conversations where I came to know that some parents whose kids are stuck up because of the
yes,
flights. They thought that ये तो चल जाएगा, एक हफ्ता चल जाएगा, तो एक महीना चल जाएगा. But you see, the difference is, even though kids are staying alone in rented apartments in the US, the
yeah.
situation was never like I'm stuck to an apartment for like 40 days and 60 days.
Hmm.
So actually, people are facing mental health issues. People are beginning
Yeah,
to realize that the kids are complaining कि यार बहुत हो गया, अभी मैं नहीं रह सकता हूँ यहाँ पे.
yeah, true.
मुझे यहाँ से निकालो, कैसे भी करके निकालो, chartered flight से निकालो, flight से निकालो, but I just don't want. And people who are working, even
Hmm.
people who are working in the IT sector, I know somebody's kids are in Amazon and they're working on. But
Yeah.
even in Amazon, I mean, you can't go anywhere. You're sitting in the house and doing whatever you are doing. So on the kids, it's extremely difficult times. I told you in the
Hmm.
beginning, these are very bizarre times that all these kids are going through.
Hmm.
For people who are coming out of the universities and looking for employment, this is going to be
Yeah,
like, take it, whatever you get, just take it. Don't be choosy about it.
true.
And for kids who are going to be going to universities, it's like, don't take it as a holiday or extension, but it's going to be like, you are going
Hmm.
to face the brunt of this when you come out for employment, because that is a time that is a lot of things are going to change, skills are
Exactly.
going to change. So
And I think
everybody has to look out. Yeah.
yeah. So just talking about the future, the employers of the future are not going to see what probably we see or our employers used to see, right? So the what you're looking at is now communication, collaboration, creativity. I mean, there's a lot of other sort of intelligence that they're looking for, ability to work across demographies, for example, right? So the skill sets are required are changing with the future as well. But just coming to again, there is a point here which is rightly pointed out by Sanjeev, and he says very clearly that Trump's canceling H-1B visa, that's going to be impacting students going to the US, for example, right? So those are different points here. But just one more thing about Maharashtra, there was a question that came up. Yes,
So
you want.
sorry, I think H-1B does not affect the student visa. They are a different visa,
Hmm.
and I think they have a massive immigration issue.
Hmm.
I will not get into all this DACA and Dreamers Act,
Yeah.
etc. But I think they have their own solutions, and
Yeah.
they are trying to see what best can be done for this. But my only say is that look, if you're looking to go to US or any of the universities anywhere in the world, I think
Mm,
you still continue to go, and you have to finish your program. But what's also I hear is, when I speak to some university people, they're saying, the universities are going to look for evidence of what you have done during this COVID lockdowns.
mm,
So it's
mm,
not like I sat at home and I watched a couple of Netflix. That's not going to help you. So
mm,
you got to do something for the community. You got to build your profile, and if you're able to demonstrate that during these holidays or during these lockdowns,
mm,
this is how you help some families, this is how you help some people, this is how you counsel other people. So that kind of thing is going to be a gold marked kind of statement coming up in your profiles, because
absolutely.
in the adversity what you have done
Mm.
matters a lot than what you do when you're already successful.
You're right. And I think the H1B comes from the point of view that people don't want to go today because 4 years later, when they're looking for a job, they feel that US is not going to give them that job. So why do you spend money in the US now? So that's another, another perspective probably, which is coming up right now. Of course, people are praising GIS for a very seamlessly conducted virtual classes, which is amazing.
Thank
I
you.
think it was all to the credit of your team and your brand. At the same time, there's just one question I thought I will take with you because you are from Maharashtra. The government has banned online classes for kids till primary two. So, would you like to comment on that? Anything about that?
So there is some confusion in that. We are trying to check it out. Apparently, it's not a state order. It
Mm-hmm.
is just a letter being issued by some functionary.
Mm.
So at least right now, the legal opinion we have got is that schools are continuing.
Okay, okay. So I guess, Ajay, that is the question that you were looking at getting answered. There's also another question which talked about government approving in India the universities for online education. Is that still going to carry on or not? Is there something that you would like to share on that?
So the university guidelines, UGC guidelines are there,
Mm,
and I think right now, at least I have not heard in any public domain of any plans to roll it out, but existing universities
mm,
are already doing virtual classes. Every single, I believe, close to some, 1 million students are already going through university programs under
mm,
the virtual classes. So, in fact, universities also started conducting exams online, where they are, looking at the professors are looking at you from the cameras
mm.
while you give your exams at home, and we are getting similar technologies
Wow.
into our schools as well. So I don't think there will be special licenses dished out for this, but
Mhm.
existing universities are allowed to conduct these virtual classes, and I'm sure anybody who has access to any university will be able to find it.
Okay, great. That's very helpful. So I think we're almost hitting an hour. I know, Atul, you told me you have 30 minutes, and I had made up my mind that I'm going to drag it to an hour. But I hope you've enjoyed this conversation because that was more important
Absolutely.
than anything else. But
Absolutely.
thank you. So, just before you go, I want to quote again something from Copenhagen with Dr. Purnima Luthra and Sandy McKinsey. What they have mentioned is that according to Dell Technologies report, 85% of the jobs in 2030, and that's for Generation Z and Alpha, that they are going to get in, right, is not even been invented yet. I mean, the jobs are not even invented yet. So, how are we going to be preparing the primary school children, for example, today for the type of work that doesn't even exist today? I mean, it's.
Yeah, so there is a way to address that, and they're absolutely right. For example, if you've seen the announcement by the Foreign Minister Vivian Balakrishnan,
Mhm.
he talked about 60,000 jobs being created for IT, and he
Mm,
said we don't even have a supply of 2,500 kids coming in
mm,
from local universities. Right now, who imagined that suddenly this sector will have more jobs? And now
true.
we're looking at reskilling, maybe taking out people from banking sector and putting them in technology or finance or oil and gas or whatever. So they are right to an extent that this is going to happen.
Mm,
Now, whether it's 80% or 70% or 65%, I think that's not material. What's really good, and where I think Indians are going to do a good job there, is in the biggest PhD called Jugaad.
mm.
We have to constantly evolve, and I call it a PhD because this is no PhD available in any university, to
Yes.
be able to do something on the fly as you speak.
I didn't
So
see that coming, but thank you.
yeah. So basically, what we when we did our research in terms of how we want to take this forward, of
Hmm.
course, there are 21st century schools and education parameters available, and we studied every single UN document and UNESCO document to see what are they talking about. And
Right.
essentially, what we found was that you need to prepare people for these unforeseen skills. So how do you do that? There is no curriculum.
No.
Your base curriculum, academic curriculum, is going to be constant. You do whatever you can. You see
Hmm.
the amount of changes that have taken place in a Cambridge curriculum over the last, let's say, 3 decades, probably to less than 20%.
Hmm.
But if that means 80% curriculum continues, still you have new industries coming in, you have
Hmm.
digital coming in, but the same subjects continue, same curriculum continues. What we did is we said, look, we should build schools of the future. And that was
Hmm.
a concept that we took. And we said, let us provide the layers that are required, the skills,
Hmm.
the all-round holistic development, whether it is visual or performing arts, whether it is sports excellence. We provide these layers on top of that in a very
Hmm.
articulate way so that students are able to use some of these things. Now, it doesn't mean that if you are a good sportsman, you cannot be a good leader. You will still be a good
Hmm.
leader because you're deploying strategy. For example,
Hmm.
we now have basketballs and football being played in our schools with full data analytics. So when you play a
Hmm.
game, I see a full live recording of what is going on, not as in video camera, but with data. So the
Hmm.
students can walk over to the coach and say, "Sir, मुझे दिखाओ कि मेरा कैसा रहा performance." बोले बेटा
हाँ.
तुमने इतने स्पीड में किया, इतने पास किए, इतने नहीं किए, तुम थक गए. All that data is available. So children are now like, okay, I know what exactly I need to do. At least I know what is the thing that I need to improve on.
Yeah,
So similar
totally.
to sports, I think what we have to do is really create overlays, and as we speak, as the new situation evolves, we may have to keep changing that. So we need to be flexible as far
Hmm.
as overlays are concerned, but the
Hmm.
foundation of the academics will continue to be in the same way, and we will have to live with that. That will move very slow because it is geared towards the overall large populations.
Hmm.
But you see that new subjects being introduced, electives coming in. You will see there was a time when everybody's talking about artificial intelligence and robotics and
Hmm.
machine learning and all that. I said, look, let's talk about basic skills.
Hmm.
आप स्पीच कैसे देते हो, आपका डिक्शन कैसा है. I was myself a very shy person. I never spoke in my college. I
Yeah.
never did a single event in my school. I was
Huh.
a total bookworm into my books. And I actually went to a course when I was in my engineering first year. Somebody said, yeah, are you free, like, let's go and let's do a course on public speaking.
Hmm.
So the course was actually called public speaking, and one of the professors of the local colleges was teaching that. So we used to go there and sit for fun, and
Huh.
but he taught us, some basic elements of public speaking, and I never
Hmm.
had to use it until I started a school project. But fundamentally, that taught us the elements of communication. Similarly, when you're talking about building these unforeseen skill areas, you
Hmm.
need to give them all the basic ingredients of communication, of ethics, of leadership, of decision making, of troubleshooting. All these basic elements, if you do, then no matter what markets change, these kids are going to do extremely well, and
I
they will
totally.
be able to fit into any scheme of things that evolves over the next 10 years or so.
You're absolutely right, because I think the foundation, and then just to quote your 9 gems, right? That is the foundation which you're actually following, right? You're talking about leadership, entrepreneurship, and you're talking about a lot of those basic foundational things which build the character of any human and a global citizen. Of course, added to that will be the changing scenarios from day to day, which obviously every generation has to deal with. I mean, I look at my generation, I would say, yeah, we had to deal with a lot of challenges. I'm sure you had to deal with a lot of challenges. So everybody has had to. Our parents are still learning WhatsApp and they're learning Facebook nowadays. They are having to deal with change. So that is going to be just
Absolutely. And now we have
the.
6-year-old kids
Yeah,
teaching their parents how to use Zoom. I mean, this is look at this, the transformation. The parents
totally.
are asking kids, how do you use Zoom? Kaun sa button dabana hai? And I must tell you something very interesting. Yesterday, I was talking to some people from the media from India. And
Uh-huh.
today we had something very interesting because we were talking about nine gems. So
Yes.
as part of the nine gems,
Mm-hmm.
we are one of the very few schools in the world which has data analytics to track overall performance of the child.
Yes.
This is all done by us. We have done in-house, and we are
Mm.
using it. And one of the initiatives that we have launched yesterday was the School of Music. It's a very unique
Mm-hmm.
initiative where music will be taught to children, and it's
Yes.
called the GIS Shekhar of Giani School of Music. It was launched yesterday. I think today media has carried it, and I'm so glad that while I was on one of the conference call, one of
Mm.
my colleagues, Sarita, she suddenly jumped up. I said, "What happened, Sarita?" She said, "Oh, Amitabh Bachchan has just tweeted about our initiative." I said, "Hey, that's great. Mr. Bachchan, coming to know of this and tweeting it."
Yeah, and that's
And
exactly what we are showing on the screen right now. Is Amitabh Bachchan saying, "Shekhar, dear friend, done many songs with him. My best wishes for this
yeah,
initiative. How can I join you?" Which is great. Yeah.
absolutely. And after that tweet happened, and within like half an hour, we all came to know about it. And then
Mm.
Shekhar called me. He said, "I must tell you this." I said, "क्या हुआ?" बोले मैंने बच्चन साहब को भेजा था वो इमेज, तो बच्चन साहब ने उसको ट्वीट कर दिया. एंड बिफोर
हाँ.
ट्वीटिंग he called him personally, and he said,
अच्छा.
"शेखर जी, ये स्कूल ऑफ म्यूजिक आप कर रहे हो, this is fantastic. Where are you doing this? I want to join this." So
Ah,
Shekhar said, "Sir, this is being done in GIS, and all GIS schools are going to be doing this, and this is an
right.
initiative that we want to really take." So the point is, this is being done, and one of the journalists asked us about, are you using data analytics for music? And I said, yes. In future, we will know exactly how the performance of a child is transgressing through the various stages of your learning of music. And we already have a data analytics module, but
Mm.
we are going to use technology. And I know we have a very simple, whenever we come up with any of these ideas, and we have been working with Shekhar for the last 2 years. He is a gem of a guy. He is so down to earth. And
Mm.
I noticed very strong similarities between him and Rahman sir,
Mm.
because when Rahman sir came last time, and one of our students actually performed,
Mm.
and I was trying to poke into a conversation while he was on the stage, and he
Mm.
was listening to the child, and she was, I think, that time 7, 8 years old,
Right.
and he didn't even look at me, and he kept looking at the child, and he heard a song, and then he told the audience, he said, "You sang it better than me." Now, that is a compliment. That is a level
Wow.
of attention they have. So I think with Shekhar, we are so blessed because he has done so much in the music industry in the last 24
Mm.
years. And when he said, "Atul, I don't want to do this for once or twice. I want to do this forever. I want to
Right.
make this into a long-term association." And we thought maybe he's kind of saying it just for it. And we tested him. We said, "Okay, fine. हमने कुछ नहीं बोला, फिर चलता रहा. And then one
Mm.
fine day again he called up. We said, "अरे क्या करना है उसको? We have to start it." And then suddenly the COVID came in. So I told Shekhar, I said, wait. Let's just handle the COVID issues. And then, so it got delayed by 3 months.
Mm.
But I'm very glad Mr. Amitabh Bachchan has noticed it. And a lot more people will notice it, because what we are going to do is something very unique. Students learn music in our schools, and all the
Mhm.
schools we teach music. They learn the fundamentals of music education, Carnatic vocals, Hindustani vocals. Shubham Udgalji has done a lot of workshops here, and so have other artists. But in this particular workshop, Shekhar said, "I'm not going to take a class.
Mm.
I am going to do a one-to-one customized curriculum for the child we have selected." And he's been actually doing, as we speak, he's been doing this over the last couple of weeks,
Mm.
and training every child in the manner in which, and he's saying, "I don't want you, if you are good in Tamil music, I will
Mm.
teach you Tamil music. I will tell you what are the tricks of the trade to become a fantastic Tamil singer. If you know violin and you want to play violin," so it's not about singing. What we have created is a school of music, and it's not a school of songs, is essentially to say, we would like you to learn any element of music that you want to learn. You
Mm.
have taken the basic training on, and we will put you onto an accelerator program. This will immediately take you into a subsequent league where you will have a choice whether to take it further, or kind of take it as a profession, or go, and maybe, who knows, there would be opportunities, as the news has already broken out, and Mr. Bachchan has a very strong following. And
Yes.
not only he posted on Twitter, but he also posted on Facebook. So I think combined, I think 100 million people. I don't know what is his following. I'm a bad social media person. Uh, but I'm sure a lot of people. I saw like in 20 minutes there were like 60,000 likes or
Yes.
60,000 views of that video. So
Well,
its
I can.
numbers were going to be crazy. Yeah. So we were not
There's
prepared for it, but
9,900. We are talking about the likes here right now, and we're talking about 151 shares. But this is only his Facebook page. I mean, minded, the main following is on Instagram and also
yeah.
on Twitter, where he's obviously done
So
this.
that obviously puts up a lot of onus on
Right.
making sure that we do it in the absolutely perfect way. I mean, our point is very simple. We would love to have these kids look at the Grammys, look at the top leagues in the world. I mean, there are students
Totally.
who are learning English classical right now. These, and Shekhar is taking everybody from Western music to Hindustani to Carnataki vocals to
Hmm.
instruments to band to violins to tabla, and just a few months back, Ustad Zakir
Hmm.
Hussain inaugurated the percussion lab in our school. So
Right.
I think from a all-round perspective, we are going to see a lot of action happening at GIS. And I keep telling all the kids, you are some of the most fortunate ones. Thanks to your parents, you are here in Singapore, you are here in this part of the world, or in India, in the cities
Hmm.
where we have campuses. And we are going to see some remarkable students coming out of these campuses, not
Totally.
just
I think.
but in every space. And I must tell you, one of our students, and I make sure it is a point that I repeat, that one of our students is proudly associated with the SpaceX launch program. She was a
Oh wow.
student from TI Singapore. So when the space shuttle, docked over there, her parents actually told us that this is what has happened. We felt very proud. We felt that a piece of, she's worked on the project which is to do with the Falcon 9, and particularly the landing legs project part of it, and
Hmm.
it went off in a perfect way. I'm sure there are hundreds of Indians in that. She happens to be the youngest Indian in
Right.
that particular SpaceX launch, which happened 2 weeks back. And we are glad that a piece of GIS and a piece of Singapore is out there in the space. So we feel very proud. So these kids, if you give them a chance, and she was a kid from Lucknow, and she was
Hmm.
studying in Lucknow, came on a scholarship to Singapore and studied at GIS. So I think these are some of the greatest moments and greatest opportunities that we want people to really take up, advantage of, and to be able to give these kids, they have potential.
Hmm.
And I keep saying, you don't have to be an IB topper, you don't have to be a CBSE topper to do anything. You just do what you are good in. If you can find an answer, I didn't find it for myself for the first 50 years of my life, but if I can have encourage children to find the answer to where they're good in, and if they get opportunity to work in that space, boy, you will be just smiling and playing all the way to your careers.
क्या बात है. I have to admit that was very impressive, and I think अब मुझे समझ में आ रहा है कि क्यों आपको बोलते हैं a staunch advocate of high quality and cost effective education. I mean the opportunity, like you rightly said, कहीं से भी आओ, but pick that thing, your passion, and then sky's the limit, right? So we can provide everything, and parents are doing a great job, teachers are doing a fantastic job. They are giving those opportunities and giving and exposing the child to everything that today's world needs. Of course, no one can see the future, but as much as we can. The smart campus is an amazing, amazing infrastructure, and it's not because infrastructure is impressive. How you use that infrastructure makes it more important, right? Because there's no point having machines and everything in place unless you know how to use it and add value to a child's life. We always talk about our own one child, two children. How you manage their lives is difficult, but here you have children from across so many countries in your schools. Of course it becomes a big responsibility to manage because you're shaping futures. That's huge, and that's what the education industry is all about. But on that note, I do want to thank you, Atul, for being with us today. And I can only, I would say, imagine the kind of vision you had at a point of time. I'm sure even you did not think that you're going to be into this and reach and cross so many hurdles at some point of time and be where you are today. But I think it's an amazing, inspiring story. And just to sum it up, I would say that your limitation is only your imagination. So if you can imagine it, you can achieve it for sure. Thank you for joining us, Atul, today. And thank you also for the great work that you're doing, not only for the schools and the students, the community, the countries, but I think just for humanity in general. Anything you'd like to say before you go?
No, thank you, Renuka, for the generous compliments again. But I would say you made the interview very lively and seemed like a conversation. I took a lot of exceptions from my media team to say, what I can say, what I cannot. But I think it turned out very well. Yeah,
Yeah, did
absolutely.
I manage to
Sorry
get
for the small pitch because I'm the cameraman, I'm the producer, I'm the director, so I'm sitting in my house, and I have a small camera setup which I'm using. And by the way, in the lockdown, during the lockdown, I probably have given more interviews in my entire life. I have given. So lockdown का पूरा फायदा उठाओ, मजा करो, ऐश करो, और स्कूल की तैयारी करो. Thank
और
you
वो
so
जो
much.
पब्लिक स्पीकिंग का कोर्स किया था उसका भी अब थोड़ा सा रिटर्न दिखाओ.
उसमें मैंने 15 रुपए की फी दी थी, तो आई थिंक वो पूरे वसूल हो गया.
ओके, नाउ आई एम फीलिंग ये क्या 15 रुपए एक्चुअली रिटर्न ऑफ इन्वेस्टमेंट देखी जाए तो आपसे सीखनी चाहिए. But thank you, Atul. Thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Pleasure mine. Thank you so much.
All right. So that was, of course, I think that was a conversation waiting to happen. Let me put it that way. It's been years and years that Atul and I have crossed each other at several events, at several occasions. We've sort of exchanged a few words. I've met him, of course, at his school a few times. And we've just sort of, on one side, I feel that he is obviously right there when it comes to doing a lot for the Indian community in general, thinking of an idea of having an Indian school starting from one, and now, of course, being where he is. And on the other side, we have the Radio Masti 24/7, which is, of course, starting, 3 hours, and then also Hindi music, Indian community, thinking of community, thinking of countries, thinking of culture, thinking of a strong foundation, and of course, blending communities wherever we are. That's where I feel there's a lot of commonality, and I love it. I hope you enjoyed this conversation, because Atul is a name जो बहुत लोग जानते हैं उनको, सब लोग पहचानते हैं उनको. आज उनके साथ में बात करके I hope आपको अच्छा लगा. उनकी जिंदगी के बारे में बहुत कुछ पता लगा होगा, मेहनत के बारे में बहुत कुछ पता लगा होगा, challenges के बारे में समझ में आया होगा, and of course vision which goes on not only from when he started but goes on from now to whatever times we all can see, from the business, economy, social responsibility, corporate responsibility, students' responsibility, and of course, a lot of leadership, entrepreneurship, and building the foundation and the students and the citizens of tomorrow, if I may say. All right, अगले हफ्ते हमारा कॉर्नर ऑफिस में फिर से बहुत ही एक कमाल के गेस्ट आने वाले हैं. Mr. Piyush Gupta आने वाले हैं, जो कि DBS के हेड हैं सिंगापुर में, and he's going to be sharing his journey. जी हाँ, भारत से यहाँ तक, and then heading DBS, which is the Bank of Singapore, and of course digitalization yet again is iconic with that bank. But we'll talk more about the banking sector and a lot more that is in place in the corner office next week. मिलेंगे आपको यहीं पर, इसी जगह पर शाम के 6 बजे अगले ट्यूसडे को. आना मत भूलिएगा. Until then, of course, stay tuned to Radio Masti 24/7. As I say, we are not just entertainment, we are infotainment. It is really important to have information in everything that we do, because end of the day, हम यहाँ पर जिंदगी में अकेले तो रह नहीं रहे हैं. We are living in a community. We are living, of course, somewhere where we are connected to every country, every part, every human. And what else but the recent pandemic? उसने तो दिखाई दिया है कि हम जिंदगी में अकेले नहीं हैं. हम सब के सब साथ में हैं. Till then, well, this is goodbye from Radio Masti 24/7 Studios and Renuka. See you next week. और हाँ, stay positive. Do not test positive. Remember that. Bye.